Public Meetings Act, this is the shot and notify the public that notice of the date, time, location, and agenda of this meeting to the extent known was provided at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting in the following manner. By posting such notice on the public announcement board of the Lakewood Board of Education offices in the Lakewood Township Municipal Building. By mailing such notice to the offices of the Asbury Park Press. By filing such notice with the board secretary. By mailing such notice to all individuals who request to be for a copy of the same. Roll call.
Mr. Fink. Mr. Friedman.
Here.
Mr. Greenspan.
Here.
Ms. Pincio.
Here.
Mr. Seitler.
Here.
Mr. Silver. Mr. Tiff.
Here.
Mr. Slankin. Mr. Grunhut.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Good evening, everyone. What I'd like the public to know is that every month we will have one of our principals discuss the school, its status with regard to many areas, including test results and the things that the school has in plan to address their needs. So today we have Richard Fosnack from the Lakewood Middle School, who will present to you a picture of what's taking place at the middle school and some of the initiatives. And every month this will take place, a different principal will come up.
Thank you, everybody. We're going to just get set up with the computer, but I first want to start out by saying that I appreciate the board and Ms. Silva giving me the opportunity to present some of our data. And some of it's not going to paint maybe the most pretty picture about what's happening, but I think this is the first step in the right direction, is us together as a group looking at the data, analyzing the data, seeing that there are various differences that we have to look at and together growing from it. So I believe that this is the first step in the right direction, and I appreciate the board and Ms. Silva giving me the opportunity to present.
Sorry, we're having some technical difficulty.
Through Ms. Silva, while we're waiting for the difficulty, we do have members of the public and Mr. Chairman who have signed up to speak. Perhaps we could do that first? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can we do that first?
Okay. Yes, you can.
Does anyone have any issue on the board as to that?
What do you want to see the data first?
Give it a minute to get up around the clock, then it'll start, it'll stop as soon as they're ready.
Ms. Silva and Mr. Chairman, there are other presentations. Do they also require use of the screen? They do.
Actually, they do.
Okay.
Michael, can we just start on the public presentation?
With your permission, Pastor Glenn Wilson.
You won't lose me twice, please, and I'm here right now.
Pass. Well then,
I mean, let's go to number 2.
Kim Singleton, if you'd like. Kim Singleton. I know she's here. Not here.
Next, who's third?
Now, Ms. Singleton is here. She would like to It just takes some time to get to the microphone. I'm going to ask you, Ms. Singleton, at this point, now that we got this, that was not a ploy. Well, Ms. Singleton,
There we go, I apologize. So, as I was saying, I think this is the first step in the right direction, us coming together as a group, as a community, and looking at some of our data so that we can start working together to take care of some of the deficiencies that we are having. But the first thing I think we need to do is, the only way we're going to improve our test data and to improve student learning is to truly have a belief that our students can and are able to do it. So, to start, I'm going to show you a short video clip. This student that I'm going to show you is from Dallas, Texas. And the Dallas, Texas School District brought this student in on the first day of school to kind of motivate and get the teachers in the right frame of mind. And I came across this video about 4 years ago, and before each school year, I always take a look so I know that I'm in the right frame of mind. And I shared it with my teachers earlier this year, and I thought it was effective, so I want to show it to you now.
Believe in me. Do you believe in me? Do you believe that I can stand up here fearless and talk to over 20,000 of you? Because here's the deal. I can do anything, be anything, create anything, dream anything, become anything. Because you believe in me. And it rubs off on me. Let me ask you a question, Dallas ISD. Do you believe in my classmates? Do you believe that every single one of us can graduate ready for college or the workplace? Because next week, we're all showing up in your schools. All 157,000 of us. And what we need from you is to believe that we can reach our highest potential.
The video goes on, it's a bit longer, and you could see it on YouTube under Dalton Sherman, but I think that's the most important piece of this whole thing, is that we believe that our students can, and we have a belief in our students that they can do anything and create anything and be anything they want to be. And if we don't have that belief, then it's going to be very difficult to change some of the data that I'm going to show you. I just wanted to share with you the Lakewood Middle School vision. Our vision is quite clear and simple, but it has a great impact on the things that we do in our school each and every day. And it's that Lakewood Middle School is a community of learners that will work together to ensure safety, equity, and success for all. So those are the things that we focus on, and those are the decisions that our teachers and administration, and hopefully our parents and students base all their decisions on, is that particular vision. And I just want to go over some of our overall data. What I have on the top is I have our language arts literacy scores for 2010, 2011, and on the bottom I have our math scores for 2010, 2011. And I think through this whole thing, you're going to see some things that we really need to work on, and you're also going to see some things that we had some success with, and hopefully we can continue with that success. But if you look at language arts in 2010, 40% of our students were proficiency, or gained proficiency based on the NJS. So 40% of our students passed the test, okay? And in 2011, that actually decreased to 38%. So there's about a third, or a little more than a third of our students that are receiving proficiency on the NJS. So that is something in language arts that we need to continue to work on, because in my opinion, and I think everybody's opinion in this room, is that those numbers need to go up. When we look at our math, okay, we were at 34% proficiency in 2010, and we actually, over this year, did show a 3% increase, and we increased to 37% in math, but that number is still far below where we need to be to make AYP, or far below where we need to be safe harbor, and that's what the state is looking at to determine if we're a school that's in need of improvement or a school that is out of the need improvement status and being successful. So those are numbers that we need to definitely look at, and when you really think about students, those numbers are much too low. The overall language arts data you can look at again, broken down by grade level, 7th and 8th grade. There's some good things and some bad things in this picture, okay? We can see some good things first by looking at 8th grade. 54% of our students in 8th grade were proficient, all right? That's a good number, and that's a step in the right direction with a 5% increase in that particular grade level. But the thing that we've been most concerned with since I've come on to the middle school last year and then moving into this summer is that we were at 31% proficiency in 7th grade, and we decreased to 25% proficiency. So what that's telling us is that only a quarter of our 7th grade students are passing the NJS. That is far too low, and there's an extreme differential between 7th and 8th grade, and we're seeing that type of trend. And you're going to see that trend in math as well, which right away sends a red flag to us, and I'm sure to everybody in this room, that we have a bit of a struggle in transitioning our students from the elementary school in 6th grade to 7th grade. If you look at by grade level, okay, this is just if we were looking at and following cohorts of students. So if I take our 6th graders that were in 2010, they're the same students as our 7th graders in 2011. So our 6th graders in 2010 at our various elementary schools were at 39% proficiency, and we fell to 25% proficiency, which is a 14% decrease. And if you look at our 7th graders in 2010 to 8th graders in 2011, same cohort of students, they increased by 19%. So that is something to really celebrate, that increase in 8th grade. But as you can see, we have a 7th grade issue there, and transitioning kids from 6th grade to 7th grade is a major concern of ours. And as the principal of the building, I look at this and say, if I could just keep our kids status quo in 7th grade, think about the gains that we can make as they go into 8th grade. So that is something that we are looking at, something that we are focusing on, and our math data really tells the same story. So it really speaks to, what are we doing to transition our 6th graders into 7th grade. But if you look at our mathematic data, 7th grade in 2010, 28% proficiency, and we had a 6% increase 34% in 2011. So we made some gains last year in mathematics, and we're hoping that these gains continue. And if you look at 8th grade, we went from 35% to 45% in 8th grade, a 10% increase. So our 8th grade is having some success. It's our 7th grade that's a bit of a concern for us. And the same thing by grade level. And although we had some gains in math, okay, to me this is very significant because the elementary school is having some success in math in their 6th grade. 61% of the overall students were proficient, and we got them, and those proficiency levels fell to 34%, which is, quite stark. And that's a 27% decrease. And again, in 8th grade, those scores went up. So, as an administrator looking at the entire picture, that really tells us that we have a 7th grade concern. And the district and Ms. Silva and the board have seen those things in the past, and that's why we begun to implement the 6th grade Scholar Academy that began last school year to kind of transition our students from 6th grade. Every Saturday, we had nearly 200 students in our building helping with that transition from 6th grade to 7th grade. And then we also offered the Summer Bridge program to help transition our students from 6th to 7th. So overall, that tells us, where we're at regarding our 6th grade into 7th grade and 7th grade into 8th grade. We have a mission statement that goes along with our vision statement. It's quite simple. This is, again, our goal that we need to attain and that we want to attain to have a successful school year. But it's that the Lakewood Middle School will attain 52% proficiency in language arts and 51% proficiency in mathematics. So that's our goal. That's nearly a 20% increase in both categories. And this will be accomplished through the use of rigorous and relevant curriculum, along with the effective implementation of the Common Instructional Framework, which is the framework that we utilize at Lakewood Middle School. So those are our goals. And they seem, maybe to some people unrealistic. So we wanted to make sure that people see how realistic they are. So we broke it down a little bit. And is it possible? Well, for us to reach our goal, we need another 80 students to reach proficiency in language arts, building-wide. That comes to 2.5 students per class. So if our teachers can make a difference in 2.5 students more in their classroom, we will reach our goal. And we don't feel that that's necessarily not attainable. And I'm sure every teacher in here and the community members feel that's attainable as well. It's a lot of work to do, but we can get there. And in math as well, we need 83 more students to reach proficiency building-wide, and that's 2.5 students again per class. So, we've broken this down for our teachers, and we're really focusing in on creating, real clear opportunities for groups of students. There's a number of things that the district's put in place to help transition our 6th graders into 7th grade. There's a number of things that we're looking at as a building. We've really focused in on assessment and our professional learning community time for teachers to collaborate. We've created teams amongst teachers so they would have opportunities to begin to talk about individual students, because that's what needs to be done. Because this is just a bunch of numbers, but behind all these numbers are our children. And we need to really think about, individual kids and the needs that each student has. And we need to meet those needs in whatever possible. Because when we talk about equity, it's not just an equal education, because what's good for me may not be good for the next person. Equity has to do with, is each student having success? And that's what we've been focusing on this year. That's what we'll continue to focus on. And we hope next year when I get the opportunity to present these numbers to you, we'll see significant change. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
With these numbers being the way they are, have we been able to identify the students with the decreases, to exactly target these students, find out exactly what the reason is why they're not able?
Yes, we look at individual students year to year. Our director of STEM did a nice job regarding that in math. Dr. Stein really took a look at how each particular student fell and how significant that particular student fell. And we began to have those conversations. Well, what are the reasons behind that? We also look, Mr. Tiff, when we look at a lot of our data, there's a lot of students that are right there. Okay, there's the proficiency levels at 200. Many of our students are in between that 185 to 200 range, so we're really trying to focus in on those students to get them over the top, and then focus in on our students that are struggling a little bit more to try to make those particular gains. But we really do look at the individual student and how far they have fallen. And for the most part, the trend is they fall from 6th to 7th, and then they come back up 7th to 8th. So the fall is so dramatic in 7th grade that we're having a difficult time getting them to exit in the same place that they came in, and that's really our goal. They should be leaving us in a better place, not a worse place.
Now, when these students do transfer from 8th grade going in freshman in
Yes.
in high school, now, I guess when they take the test again for that year, do we see an increase, or are they pretty much the same as where they were when they left it?
I would think that the high school looks at various pieces of school data. They don't have necessarily an NJASC as they move into 9th grade. They have a HESPA score. But I would think that, and maybe Al can speak to this better than me, the principal of the high school, but I would think that that same transition is a difficult transition as well, moving from school to school.
And the other thing, just on that question, is that now that we've received the SIG grant, one of the things that the SIG grant requires is that there be more articulation in the secondary, which hadn't happened in the past. The kids came from 8th, they went into 9th, and never was the data really analyzed and looked at, as you indicated, kid by kid. What's taking place? What can we do? And how do we place them in a better place? And that's one of the things that is beginning to happen also, which is probably a good segue, because I know that our SIG grant facilitator, project director is Angela Stewart, and she's going to be talking about some of the things that are taking place to address these things.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
So if we could arrange for Mrs. Stewart to present on the Lakewood High School. The Lakewood High School principal will be presenting on data and some of the things that are taking place to improve. However, today, as required by the SIG grant and the compliance that we have to adhere to, Mrs. Stewart will be talking specifically about the SIG and what's taking place as a result of that grant coming in.
Just give me a second to bring up the PowerPoint here. All right. And as Ms. Silva said, I'm going to be presenting on some of the things that we have been doing since the beginning of the school year, started in September. And just a brief thing, year one of the SIG grant is an implementation year. So we're right now in the process of purchasing a lot of technology and that sort of thing, to bring up instruction and student achievement in the building. So a couple of the things that we've been doing in regards to the students, parents, and with the community is our students are being recognized monthly for success and achievement, and we've been doing that through our monthly Student of the Month. We have positive behavior supports that are being implemented. We've hired a student services coordinator who is putting together all of our services so that we can better address the needs of our students, whether they be academic or non-academic as well. We've contracted with community-based organizations that are providing outreach services to not only our students, but their families as well. We're in the process of contacting our advisory committee, and I recently attended the Chamber of Commerce breakfast yesterday to introduce myself and to hopefully start building a better relationship with them as well. Some of the instructional and professional development pieces that we have going on is we have teachers that we've started training in what's called the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, also known as SIOP, to facilitate high-quality instruction for our ELL content area teaching. As well, those strategies not only will benefit our ELL students, but they'll also benefit all of our students.
And for those of you who are not familiar, ELL is English language learners, second language learners.
I also sent a team of 4 out earlier this week to using data to inspire and improve student achievement, and they're going to be doing turnaround training to all the teachers during the PLCs. PLCs take place daily for all of our teachers. They're interdisciplinary, and it's a direct way for us to provide professional development, not only in their content areas, but in other areas that have been identified that they might need assistance in as well. Our teachers and our staff have had Charlotte Danielson training. That's the evaluation model that we'll be utilizing to evaluate our teachers teachers this year, and that is also required by the SIG grant. We're also hosting, or not hosting, but we're doing daily instructional walkthroughs. We're visiting a minimum of 20 to 30 classes a day, and each day we have a different area of focus in which we look at. On October 20th, we had our first visit by the New Jersey Department of Education. This was their baseline SIG visit, and we're waiting for the results of that visit to come in any day now, and we'll disseminate that information as soon as it's available. On Monday, we also attended the Excellent Educators for New Jersey Summit that was at the district level to go over what the state is requiring for the school district to implement in regards to the Charlotte Danielson model for teacher evaluation. And we've also implemented our district evaluation pilot advisory committee. As you can see, we have a lot of acronyms. And lastly, also in this first year of the SIG grant, we're front-loading it with a lot of technology to bring the high school up to speed to our middle school and our elementary schools. We're in the process of ordering 550 TI-84 graphing calculators for all of our math courses in grades 9 through 12. We've ordered departmental and teacher computers. These computers are going to be needed for the implementation of smartboard technology. We're in the process of ordering 50 smartboards, which we'll start installing as soon as they come in, hopefully within the next 3 weeks, into our math classrooms, and then filling in additional classrooms as well.
And again, for those that are not familiar, smartboards, eventually we're planning to have them replace the chalkboard. So we will be using technology, and children, our students most of the time are the ones that are training us in many of these things. I see a lot of head nodding. Our children are already utilizing on a daily basis 21st century technology, whether it's their phones, whether it's their computers, whether it's their iPads. And they go into a classroom with chalkboards, 1,900 chalkboards. So we are looking to utilize this money in the best way we can in order to have 21st century as a tool. Because it will never replace what a teacher can do, but it is a very good tool. And we're looking forward, and perhaps the public would like to see that once they're up.
And two additional things, we purchased the Measures of Academic Progress, or otherwise known as math assessment software. And each student will be taking these tests online, and then based on that data, we'll be able to better identify the areas of weakness for each student and give them the resources that they need. And also, we have the Achieve 3000 program that's going to be implemented, or is being implemented in the high school as well, to reinforce our literacy, yes, sorry. And that's all I have for our update for the first 2 months of our SIG implementation. Yes.
I have a question before I get there. The Achieve 3000 and the math program that you just mentioned.
Yes.
Now, are those programs ready to use for the students' math?
No, the Achieve 3000, we're rolling out next week. The measures, the math testing, I know that it is arriving in our buildings. The purchase order just went out. I mean, the money was just downloaded into eWeb for us to start purchasing 2 weeks ago, so we're moving as fast as we can, but we can only move as fast as the vendors can get it out to us.
Now, when the vendors do bring it to us, are we up and ready as far as technology going to get this stuff moving as soon as we are approved for this and stuff is here in the building? And, are we able to handle, all those computers? We have basically the wiring and everything, the Wi-Fi and everything set up and ready to roll.
That's a Jim question.
Yes.
Jim, you want to respond?
Yeah, the technology discussed, the point is everything our existing infrastructure can handle. We're not talking about the wireless devices just yet.
So we're able to handle everything as of right now, as far as this program, Achieve 3000,
Yes.
the kids in the math program, everything's ready to go.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is there any additional questions?
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it is my understanding that every year the State Education Department requires that we report out on our violence and vandalism. And to do that, Mrs. Winters will present you the numbers.
Okay, I promise to be quick. I apologize. It seems like death by a PowerPoint, but this will be very quick this one. What I'm going to show you is absence of vandalism and substance abuse for the past 3 years. Lakewood Public Schools has to actually report to the state, and then the state actually reports to the federal government. So the past 3 years, the violence, vandalism, weapons, and substance abuse actually has been going down in most areas with the exception of substance abuse. Unfortunately, violence, the new HIV Act is actually going to fall under violence. That's harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So we're probably going to, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big jump in that in the next upcoming year.
Can you go back to that last PowerPoint? Go back, please. Now, these numbers, I remember from when Mr. Supported this year. The numbers were a little bit different. They're a little bit different. The ones that are up to now, and he was here back in, I think, in 08, 09, the numbers weren't quite the same as what you have there. The concern that I have is that is everything being reported and being documented? Whatever's going on in the high school, like every disciplinary, like who determines, what's violent, what's vandalism, what is a weapon, who sets the standards?
The state actually has a report. So every time something happens in the schools, the principal has to fill out violence, vandalism, and substance abuse incident report. So for instance, under violence, it would be an assault, a criminal threat, extortion, fight. So the state actually determines which goes under violence.
Now each fight is reported to the principal, and the principal goes out
Right.
and form for that.
These are
That is the standard.
Okay.
That is the standard. Principals are supposed to report. And of course, one of the things that we ought to look at is that a tussle between a couple of kids, we're all getting trained on this, is, and if it isn't an out-and-out fight, and it's a situation where the principal and the teacher are talking, that's a different story. But all the fights are supposed to be reported in all these other areas.
So basic pushing and shoving is at the principal's discretion, basically.
that would have to be determined a fight.
Yeah, I'm saying some teachers'
Right.
discretion
If
is
it's
just
determined
pushing
a
and
fight,
shoving.
and they're suspended for a fight, it would have to be written up as a fight.
Right.
Okay, so for vandalism, cost of vandalism in 2008, 2009 cost the district $395. 2009-10 it was $1,000, and last year $0 was spent on vandalism.
Do you know exactly what those were? Were they like bang graffiti or broken windows or?
Broken windows, holes in walls, slashes, stolen window screens.
Didn't see that. Thank you.
Okay, the actions taken. Last year, there were 3 incidents where the police were notified, however, no complaint was actually written up, no filed by the school district or police. Last year, 34 incidents where the police were notified and complaints were filed. Expulsions, there was 0. Short-term suspensions were 87, and there were no long-term suspensions, just 44.
And again, for everyone to know, this is based on the numbers and the incidents that are sent to the people we have here taking the data in. And then we send it to the state sends it to the federal government.
Okay, and the offenders, 63 offenders last year were regular education students. Students with disability last year, there were 18. Non-student, 0, unknown individual, 0. And unduplicated, what that means is that the incident could involve more than one. It could be vandalism, violence, it could be. So that's why the numbers don't match up. Okay, in 9 cases, the victims were regular education students last year. 2 students with disabilities were victims. 8 school personnel were victims last year. That was kind of happening in 2 years.
I'm sorry. Is this just a high school or is this all?
All schools in the district, all 6 as well.
Am I getting this right? 80 home incidents happened in 19 people?
Where?
You know, you had 77 incidents.
possible to get a copy of that first?
Thank you, Ms. Winters. Thank you very much.
Recognition of the public, Michael.
You have the minutes first, Mr. President.
Sorry,
Motion to approve.
2 minutes. I mean, both minutes. Second.
Mr. Friedman,
Yes.
Mr. Greenspan,
Yes.
Ms. McKee,
Yes.
Mr. Seidler,
Yeah.
Mr. Tisch,
What minutes are we approving exactly? I know we've seen two packets.
March 28th and May 12th.
Yes.
Mr. Grunhat,
Yes. Mr. Michael.
Pastor Wilson.
Two of my questions were already answered. Segue. I only have one more question. When a student is suspended, how is that reported? Is it reported as an absent, or is it reported, within the school as a suspension? Okay.
Kim Singleton. I know she's here. Ms. Singleton, just, the mic is not on. Ms. Singleton.
Okay.
Okay, instead of disciplinary consequences to reach a quota, can we think about teaching the kids conflict resolution skills? And also peer mediation, it teaches them leadership abilities. And also, I think if you believed in them to achieve in their dreams, you wouldn't be robbing them of their hope for the future. And also, how would you feel about it if you, instead of you giving the kid disciplinary actions, if the kid just needed to speak to someone, if their disciplinary actions took a kid and pushed them over the edge and had them commit suicide? I'd like to know how you felt about that. If a child was at the edge of a suicide and they needed a person to just speak to them. Yes, ma'am.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. And one of the things that we are doing, and that's why, again, I know repeat it a lot, but I am very happy that we received the SIG grant, because one of the things that it'll enable us to do, we have a lot of resources in the district. We have guidance counselors, we have outside resources, we have our teachers. But in terms of student services, to address the kinds of things that you're talking about, we have to improve that. But I agree, because when they studied what happened with the students in the Columbine, what took place was that when they analyzed, they talked to each one of those kids, and they were asked, each kid was asked, what is the adult you go to when you need help? Every last one of them couldn't identify anyone. So one of the things that we're doing through the guidance department, through this new student services, is that we're looking at that. One of the things that also, back from the 1940s, 50s, if a child sometimes said that, a lot of people will say, oh, that's not true. They're saying, I'm going to kill myself. Nowadays, we understand that that is a big flag, and we have to do it. But a lot of administrators, teachers, people in general, parents don't understand it. So one of the things that we're looking at is to try and put in a lot of training. It's a red flag. No one is to say, don't take it seriously. But again, that is something that we have to do, and that's one of the reasons that as the months come on, I want to report out on that. What are we doing in terms of that? How much better are we getting? We're not good right now. Not good. But we are getting there, and I agree with you 100%, because we could lose children as a result of that.
No,
So I thank you for bringing it
No,
up.
I'm not saying that sometimes kids don't say that's what they think, and sometimes a kid might be contemplating suicide and they might be feeling that way, and you might just get them a disciplinary action, and that particular action might just push that child over the edge. I'm saying they may not need that disciplinary, they might just need someone to talk to. That's what I'm saying. Some kids may outwardly say I'm going to commit suicide, but they might just need something more than a disciplinary action, a mediation. So I'm saying every child does not need a disciplinary action. Sometimes they need somebody to just take the time to speak to them. That's what I'm saying to you. It might be contemplating suicide to themselves and they may not outwardly speak it.
Right.
That's what I'm saying to you.
And that's why we're going to learn about looking for certain behaviors.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
I spoke 2 years ago, there was a child who was demonstrating some behaviors, and we couldn't figure out why. And when I asked the teacher, she said, I don't know, the kid was, I don't know why, but I know. And I said, is there anything that happened? She said, well, last year the child's mother died, but I don't know about this year. Do you understand?
Yeah.
The impact of losing your primary caregiver is a life changer. But because the training, perhaps the sensitivity wasn't there, so you're right. Being punitive to that kid was just going to make it worse. So I agree with you, we're working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Singleton, thank you. Mr. Mandel, I see you here.
A couple of questions. Number S on the agenda, page 4. There's approval of the real estate aid amount of around $1 million. And the first 3 items are for salaries of teachers, salary increase deducted from the theater budget. As far as I remember, the only thing that was taken out of the budget was the community school. So what does that mean, that the salary increase from the theater budget? And number 2, also, if I remember, July 25th, $300,000 from this $1 million was already given to textbooks. So are we taking it away from the textbooks now? Is the same, is something changing with that? And number 3, on page 30, item X. Reports and recommendations of the superintendent, page 30. Okay. Number X. There's like a whole bunch of new revised policies. You see attached. And it's, what? Page 30, number X.
It's the new policy.
The policy, but there's nothing attached. So people don't know what's attached and what's being voted on. Maybe you want people to know before. Thank you.
So the first question I can't answer that with specificity, so I'll ask our intro BA.
As far as the textbooks coming out of the additional funding, that was not approved by the county superintendent's office. At the time the board suggested it, we weren't allowed to do anything with that extra state aid.
They didn't allow that?
No. As far as the increase in the salary lines, bilingual is due to the fact that we had to increase bilingual teachers by 4, and also there were additional teachers added to the other line accounts for in-class support, and there were a few other additional new teachers. Kindergarten salaries, there was an increase in the number of children. So that all was taken into consideration.
It says here that it was defeated from the budget. It was never in the budget to be defeated from.
It was prior to the budget going to the voters.
I see.
Okay, thank you.
With regard to the policy, your question about the policy, many of our policies, and also just to reference what the former speaker, Mrs. Singleton, indicated, we have policies that are antiquated. The policies almost reflect, when it comes to bullying, boys will be boys. That is not adequate. And so one of the things that we're doing is we are updating all our policies. In terms of the copies, I know that the board members have it in their packets. But we can discuss some of them, we can talk about some of the very essential ones. The discipline, we wanted, again, to reference what the previous speaker said, there were many punitive means. In other words, a child demonstrates inappropriate behavior, suspension. There's a lot of things that must take place before that. So we're updating a lot of our policies that were created back in the 80s and really not looked at since.
Through the chair,
Yes.
from what I'm just trying to understand, but typically policies have 2 readings. So this would be the first reading of these policies, is that correct?
Correct.
So perhaps we can post these on our website prior to the next meeting. So if there's any meaningful public input, we can have that prior to the next meeting. Is that a problem?
No. Jim, is that a problem? I don't think that's a problem.
The next attorney is here.
First, I would like to suggest there's no room on the website to post it so people can find it. Going back to our previous meeting, but it was a good suggestion. If we can clearly put it somewhere on the site that people can easily find it, that would be great. Not only is it page 30, but it's also page 33 that mentions attachments. Under information for fire drill, security drill, and district students' attendance report for September. On page 37, number 9 for the supplemental education providers. Just have a question. There's a list here. Some of them, the names we've heard before. Have we done audits on the ones who have been doing business with us? And have these people really provided the service needed to help the students increase their performance in language arts and or math? There's one, the very first one actually listed, I have a concern about in the community over what happened last year with that particular vendor. So I'm just wondering if anyone knows the history of what these SES providers provided for the students, or were they here just collecting paychecks?
That's
That's page
37, number 9.
The SES provider.